Today's episode is sponsored by Codega's Bodega. If you guys want to get some clean merch, go to Codega's Bodega to support the community. And also to make a statement when you're going out on the streets, so you can let your weirdness be seen. The link will be down in the description below. Let's get to it.
So into modernity, it's a nice story. This is supposedly the face cloth from Jesus. How do you prove that? In modernity, you can take the face cloth from the Sudarium of Oviedo and you can superimpose it on the Shroud of Turin. There's 142 points of congruency between the Sudarium of Oviedo and the face of the man on the shroud. That face cloth in Oviedo, Spain, was wrapped around this image on the shroud, no doubt about it.
The Codega is a guide and a storyteller, escorting you through the night, lighting the way, warding off thieves, ghosts, demons, and other oddities. Along the journey, his companions would often share with him the most curious of stories that he'd record in his Codex. Perhaps you just might find yourself traveling with the Codega and sharing one of yours. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but what if it held the secrets of eternity? Imagine a linen cloth, thousands of years old, bearing the faint image of a crucified man, bloodstained, beaten, pierced, and yet preserved with a haunting clarity. No brush, no hand, no earthly tool could recreate. This isn't Da Vinci. This isn't myth. This is the Shroud of Turin. Believed by the faithful, scorned by the skeptics, and studied by scientists, and still, after all this time, utterly unexplainable. It is a divine photograph imprinted in the instant of resurrection by a burst of unearthly light. Or is it a brilliant medieval forgery, a relic of religious theater meant to deceive the masses? As always, the truth may be stranger and far more spiritual than fiction. To help me lift the veil on the holy mystery, I'm joined by L.A. Marzulli, a man who spent his life peering behind the curtain of accepted reality. Together, we're going to ask, what does the shroud really reveal? And who or what left it behind? All right, I want to welcome L.A. Marzulli to Codega's Codex of Curiosities. L.A., welcome back. This is your third time coming on the show, and I saw that you released your newest book, your newest docuseries. Yeah, Holy Fire, Holy Shroud, and we talked about it last our last episode when you were on. You were working on it,
Yeah,
but here we are. Can let's just dive right into it. Why don't we dive right into this book,
sure.
into this series, and all this work that you've been doing?
The Shroud of Turin is the most studied artifact on the planet. I think that will go undisputed. This thing has been probed, looked at, and what amazes me is the naysayers and the skeptics, they've never studied it, but they're so sure it's a fake. Go to shroud.com. My good friend Joe Marino runs that site. Before Joe, the late Barry Schwartz ran it. And Barry Schwartz was the STIRP photographer, Shroud of Turin Research Project, headed up by John Jackson. This is like, decades and decades ago. Barry passed away last year. So Barry ran that site, and then when he passed away, he gave it over to Joe Marino. And Joe is featured in the film, Holy Shroud, Holy Fire. So it's it's an honor. And I met Barry, and we interviewed him in our Watchers series, and that interview made it into Holy Shroud, Holy Fire. So people need to go on the shroud.com. We've got 30, 40 minutes. We can touch it. You can spend hours on shroud.com and looking at the evidence, which in my opinion, at this point is overwhelming. Number one, the shroud is a linen cloth that's about 4 feet wide, 14 feet long, roughly. Okay. And it bears the image of a crucified man. So when you look at the shroud, this is what you see from about 6 feet away. That's about what you see right there. Very faint image. You can tell it's a human being, but there are no details. So we show this in the film. 1898, Secunda Pia is hired by the church where the shroud is residing. And you got to remember that this is not a Catholic, you know, artifact from the Middle Ages. It's not. You know, the pollen trail traces it from Jerusalem into Turkey, all throughout
Yeah,
Europe, and finally.
that's a very important thing. Is this the pollen kind of really throws this for a loop when it's like, well, how good of a fake do you want to make it if
Yeah,
they're
I
actually
mean,
taking pollen
exactly.
back from Jerusalem?
Yeah,
And just the thing is, like, in the 80s, I do recall that it was debunked. You know, that they said that this was debunked, and I remember reading this in a book, and for me, it was very disheartening because I was a little kid at that. Well, I was a little kid, but I was a kid at that time, and I didn't believe it. I actually didn't buy it at that time. You know, it was disheartening to see that, but I was like, no,
and I
no, I
didn't
think this
either.
is real. Hmm.
Yeah, no, we all were disheartened. We were looked at this thing going, how can this possibly be? And I'll get to that. I'll tell you, and we show it in the film, why, what they did, and Barry Schwartz told us about it. And I'll get to that in a second. So 1898, Secunda Pia is hired by the church to go in and take photographs of the shroud. So it's laying like this in a display case. It's laying like that. All right. So he looks at it. He's got the old wooden cameras. It's not the iPhone. He's got the wooden camera, glass plates, slide one glass plate in, put the curtain over you, go click, and then you wait, and then you pull the glass plate out and you do another one. So now he's in his laboratory, he's in his dark room. And all this is like, you know, we don't do this anymore. Everything's digital. So there are no dark rooms unless you got an old fashioned camera. You know, we go click on the iPhone and there it is, right? So we're in a whole brave new different world. But in 1898, he had to take that and he puts it, that glass plate, and he's developing it with the developing liquid, you know, and he's waiting for it to dry. And as it dries, this is what he sees.
Which is amazing, and that's not a negative either, right? That's like the inverse of a
That's the
negative.
positive. Yeah. In other
Yes,
words, what he expected to see was a negative image. What he saw was a positive image. And then when you look at the shroud and you go in, look, and you see the scourging, you see the helmet of thorns, you see the blood gushing from the side right here, and you can see where
which
the
is
nail prints
so
are.
important. So
Yeah.
the blood gushing from the side is so important, and the scourging. You know, for those who don't know what scourging is, can you just quickly touch on that?
The Romans would take a handle about 18 inches long, and on the end of the handle, there'd be three leather thongs about 2 feet long. Okay. And on the end of the thongs, there's three of them, they would put metal or glass or wire. So when they're going like this on his back, this is just the frontal, but he's whipped to within an inch. This is a scourging. This is very severe. You don't come back from this. You're going to die from it. I mean, look at the legs. Basically, he's flayed within an inch of his life. I mean, there's no how. This is why he falls on the way to the cross because he's already in shock. He's got a helmet of thorns. You know, just don't do this. But if you just took a little pin and went doink like that to your head, oh, and it would hurt for hours, right? This is this is a helmet of thorns which has been beaten down into his head. So he's in shock. There's no doubt about it. His whole body's in shock, which is why after they pound the nails into the palm, which comes out the back here, he only lasts less than 3 hours, about 3 hours, and then he succumbs to it. And I mean, it's the most disgusting, brutal, barbaric way to kill somebody. And the Romans were experts at this. I mean, it's so brutal. I can't even get my head around it. And I've seen clippings on YouTube with uh, the recent the Chosen,
Oh
the crucifixion
yes,
scene. And
yeah, yeah.
the whole cast, they're all weeping. They're all crying. They're all in shock because of what they've been part of. And who wouldn't? I mean, it's unbelievable. So Secunda Pia sees this, and this ignites a firestorm. All of a sudden, Protestants who used to think, "Oh, it's a Catholic relic," everybody's diving into this thing. What's going on? And from there, you know, it's studied. But in 1978, 79, You had the Shroud of Turin Research Project. Thank you, John Jackson. Barry Schwartz was in that. Ray Rogers was in that. Other people were in that. And they went over to Turin, Italy, and they studied this thing for 120 hours nonstop, nonstop, day and night, nonstop. That was it. And Barry Schwartz was up for about 110 of them. So he had no sleep. He took thousands and thousands of photographs of the shroud. And I've
So
been in his
important.
house
So
before we
important.
met. Yeah, we filmed there in his house in Colorado. And at that time, he had a life size, the size of my head picture, just like this in his bedroom of the face. And I just let you think about that for a bit. So Barry's in the film, and I mean, there's no paint on the shroud, there's no dye, it's not applied by the hand of man. So how is it done? And nobody knows. And the skeptics now, they did the carbon 14 dating, and according to Barry, and this has been debunked numerous times, but the fact checkers refuse to debunk the debunkers type of thing. So here's the deal. So there's the shroud. So they were supposed to go in and take a sample from the cloth. Okay, three different samples. One, two, let's say three over here, right? Three different samples from the shroud. They didn't do that. So as they're getting ready, this team, the carbon 14 dating, and you just don't want this, the protocols were set up a year before these guys even got there.
I was about to say that this was all pre-decided. It's not like we're
All,
just showing up
all,
and this is what we're going to do. No,
yeah,
they had to be
all,
allowed
all,
to do this.
all agreed upon. So the guys in the black suits come in and go, everybody out of the room. 2 or 3 hours later, they're brought back in the room. You can take the sample, but you can only take it from this corner. So that's what they do. And the sample comes back 15th century. Shroud proven to be a forgery. Not so fast, citizen. Enter Joe Marino and Sue. And Joe is a monk in the monastery. He's written numerous books on the shroud. He's sort of the tent pole. He's very important. As I already talked about him, he runs shroud.com, but he's in the film Holy Fire. So Joe's a monk in a monastery, and he meets this woman online, and her name is Susan. And the reason why they meet is because they're both fascinated and involved and absorbed in the Shroud of Turin. So one thing leads to another because they're emailing each other and then they're talking to each other, and he falls in love with her. He leaves the monastery, he marries her, they write a paper together stating that what they think happened, which skewed the carbon 14 dating, is this corner of the shroud right here was a reweave. And that's what they posited. So they wrote a paper. It was presented at the shroud.com. It was, or I'm sorry, Shroud, or the annual meeting that they have. Barry Schwartz said, "Can I publish it on my site?" They said, "Yes, absolutely." So Ray Rogers hears this and goes, "Well, I can debunk this in 5 minutes." So he has a sample left over from the carbon 14, right from that, right from the, right. It's called the Reyes sample. So it's like right next to it. And he goes down to his laboratory. He takes it, puts it under a microscope. Sure enough, he can see that there's two different types of thread. It's a patch job. It's a reweave, and it was done. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
please. I was gonna ask, what was the reweave done for, or the patch job done for?
Because of the fire. You can see the scorch marks right here. These are the scorch marks from the fire. Okay, scorch marks from the fire. So the shroud was damaged in the 15th century. There's that 15th century date. So they went in and they patched it. Later on, Ray Rogers was able to get a leftover sample from the sample that was used to do the C14, and he found the same thing. There's other material in there which completely skews. You've got the pollen dating. It's never been duplicated. Nobody has any idea how this thing was done. No one has any idea, but we do. So when I say no one, I'm sort of tongue in cheek. Now, because we know about the holy fire, we posit that, wait a minute, maybe this is the reason. This was the impetus, and I'll get to that in a second. What completely blows me away, most people have never heard of the Sudarium of Oviedo. So in our film, Holy Shroud, Holy Fire, we talk about the shroud first, but then we bring it into the Sudarium of Oviedo. So what's that? The Sudarium has been in Oviedo, Spain since the 7th century. And that Sudarium of Oviedo is the face cloth that was wrapped around Jesus's head when he was taken down from the cross out of respect for the dead. So Jesus is dead. They wrapped the cloth around him out of respect for the dead. Anything that had blood on it from Jewish tradition had to be buried with the person. That face cloth is what we read about in the Gospels. That napkin has been folded up and placed next to where the tomb was. That's what that is. Okay, so in tomb modernity, it's a nice story. This is supposedly the face cloth from, from Jesus. How do you prove that? In modernity, you can take the face cloth from the Sudarium of Oviedo and you can superimpose it on the Shroud of Turin. There's 142 points of congruency between the Sudarium of Oviedo and the face of the man on the shroud. That face cloth in Oviedo, Spain, was wrapped around this image on the shroud, no doubt about it. 142, at least 142 points of congruency.
That is just
I know. I know.
astonishing,
I
amazing.
know.
Like to have that. Wow.
And we do.
And I know we can't say 100%. This is it, but man, we're knocking at like 99.9%.
I'm right there with you. This is forensic evidence of the greatest event in history, the resurrection of the God man Jesus of Nazareth, the Messiah. This is what it is. And no one, there's $1 million reward right now if you can duplicate the shroud. $1 million reward. There are no takers because no one knows how it was done. Okay, so you've got the shroud, you've got the Sudarium. They go like this. Now, before I launch into the holy fire, when Abraham cuts the covenant with the Lord, God Almighty, El Shaddai, the Lord comes down, pre-incarnate Jesus, and puts Abraham to sleep. So you've got this like you got the carcasses of the animals which create this like a gauntlet, but it's really not a gauntlet, a pathway which you would walk and you would cut the covenant. That's what you would do in ancient days.
That is the covenant. Yes, people don't
So
understand that you actually have to split the animals and walk
right,
between them. Yeah,
right. You split the animals, walk between them. So God, Jesus puts Abraham asleep, and what they see is a flaming torch go through. That's what goes through. When Moses sees the burning bush that doesn't burn, what's that? What is that? So you've got flame, some kind of torch thing going through. You've got Moses in the burning bush. That's all lit up. You've got the pillar of fire, which leads the Israelites, right, through the wanderings for 40 years. That thing's just their pillar of fire, right? And then on the day of Pentecost, you've got what? Tongues of flame over the heads of the apostles. Holy fire. So we know that the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was built on the site. How do we know that? Because Peter talks about seeing the holy fire over the tomb in the first century. So the Romans come in AD 70, wipe everything out. In AD 125 to 130, right around in that period of time, the Bar Kokhba revolt happens. The Romans have had it up to here. That's it. They kick all the Jews out. You're not coming in here on penalty of death. And they erect the Temple of Venus over the site of the crucifixion and resurrection. They construct the Temple of Jupiter over the Temple Mount. So no holy fire for 300 years. And the year roughly 400, Constantine converts, and his mother, Helen, comes down into the promised land. Where's the site? Where did it take place? Well, all the locals know, local knowledge. If you came here in the Santa Monica Mountains and you started going, hey, who's this Jimmy Decker guy? I could tell you everything about Jimmy Decker, right? Not everything, but I could, local knowledge. You don't know anything about this guy. I do because I live here. All right. local knowledge. So all the locals know exactly where the crucifixion took place and the resurrection. And they go, see that temple over there? Temple of Venus? It's underneath that. So Helen and a crew, they deconstruct the Temple of Venus. They cart all the stuff away because it's unclean. They find Golgotha and they find the tomb. They find the cross. They find the spikes. They find the crown. It's all there. It's all been, some of it is still there. Okay. The shroud's been taken away. Some of the other artifacts are probably taken away. So what happens on the day before Resurrection Sunday, the holy fire would appear over the slab where Jesus lay. It would appear in the tomb, and they saw it. And this has been going on for 1,700 years. There's a book by Harris Skarlakidis, which we reference. There are 70 different people, different languages, Arabs, Christians, Greeks, Catholics. I mean, it's all over the map. Eyewitness accounts of seeing the holy fire. So what happens is, go back 300 years ago, the lamps would be hanging in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and the holy fire would just manifest. Bam! So now there's this, it's called the Edicule. It's actually built in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre around where the tomb was. And what we see now is the head of the Greek Orthodox, or the Patriarch of Jerusalem, goes in. He's searched, and the inside of the tomb is searched, and he goes in and he brings back the holy fire. We show this in the film. You can take the holy fire, and for 10 minutes it won't burn. There's a woman that's going like this with the fire right on her arm. There's Giulio Fonti going like this. And you Google Giulio Fonti and you're going to get, hit pieces on the guy, just like you get hit pieces on me. Anybody who stands up and talks about the Lord, oh, you're this, you're that, whatever. Well, why don't we just talk about the evidence? Something is going on with the holy fire. It's been there for 1,700 years. And what Giulio Fonti shows, and we show this in the film, you can take 2 candles, light one with a lighter, light the other one with the holy fire, and then put a linen cloth over it. The holy fire, it just singes it, and it looks like this. It looks like this. The image, not the image, but the cloth is just faintly not burned but scorched. So some of us think that this is how. You remember, Jesus is dead. He's laying on this cloth, so his body's here, and the cloth wraps around him like this. And the reason why the women are coming back, they're going to anoint the body. It's not done. They're not done yet. That's why they're coming back. And what happens is the holy fire descends in that tomb, and that resurrects the body. He's changed, and that produces this image. That's as close as we can get to it. And I call it God's calling card because it's forensic evidence of the greatest event in all of history. And there it is.
It's like the fingerprints of God, left there for us.
Exactly. That's what it is. This is left for us. And what's amazing, I have friends who were scientists and atheists and skeptics, and I show them the film. Not a peep. Not a peep. They don't want to talk about it. Not a peep.
Of course they don't. Why do you think that it was well, I know a lot of reasons why, because I want to discredit it, but why? What is the purpose of them, discrediting this? I don't know. I think that's an easy answer, actually, but why do you think they only gave him that little corner? Like, who is behind this?
They don't want that. There was actually, Barry Schwartz talked about this in the film. There's £1 million reward, £1 million. That's a lot of money in 1980, donated anonymously to Oxford University. I'm pretty sure it was Oxford, for debunking the shroud. That's why it was given to them. £1 million reward for debunking the shroud. You tell me. It's a managed agenda. Why? Because it points back to the greatest. It does 2 things. It points back to the resurrection. It points back to the validity of the biblical prophetic narrative. It points back and shows that there is a supernatural world, and it's real. It points back to the veracity of the gospel message. It's all there. This is God's calling card. This is forensic evidence. I mean, look at the scourging. How do you create that? You tell me. How do you create? And it's brutal. I mean, we've already talked about this. And by the way, he's crucified completely naked, 100% naked, 100%. There's no loincloth. So all of his private parts are exposed. And the deal, and the Lord led me in this a couple of years ago now, and it was amazing. The reason why the crowd is yelling, "Come down, come down! You saved others, come down!" Why are they yelling that? Because they know he can come down. Why are the two Marys, Magdalene and his mother, his Ima, and John the Apostle? Why are they there? Because they're waiting for him to come down. Because how do you kill God? And this is what Satan never got and never figured. Well, he's going to come down. You can't kill God, right? You can't kill God. And he could have come down, and that would have been the end of it. But he doesn't come down. He is the prototype of the rapture of the church. He is. He's the firstborn of the dead, right there. So in everything, he would be preeminent. For in him the fullness of God was, let me finish the scripture. For in him the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him, through Jesus, to reconcile everyone on earth by the blood of his cross. And that's where we are.
So do you believe that the rapture will be holy fire, bringing us up, like raising the dead? Is holy fire will be raising the dead then?
The holy fire will raise the dead, in my opinion. And it says, "Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall all be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye." So what is that change? Well, there was, the Left Behind series talks about you're changed and all the clothes drop. I'm not buying that for a second. We go up, and everybody around us watches us go up, just like Jesus goes up. But here's the deal: we are changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye. What changes? Our sin nature. Our DNA changes in a moment. That's what changes. Because you can't go up with your sin nature. That ain't going to happen. So you go up, and I think it's instant like that. And then just recently, the Lord showed me something. And he said, look up at the miracles, and you can go online, 37 miracles of Jesus. Boop, 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 boop. So he changes the water to wine. He's not sweating it. He raises Jairus' daughter from the dead. He's not sweating it. He breaks the bread and feeds 5,000. He's not sweating it. He's not going, I'm not sure I can do this. Calling out the lepers, right? The 10 lepers. It's like, go your way, you're healed. Guy born without any eyes, no worries. We'll just think you're done. I mean, it's just like he's not sweating it at all. Walking on the water, oh, I love doing that, right? Calming the storm in an instant. There's no equivocation. Who are you? Legion, get out, right? It's just bam. He speaks and it happens. That's it. No equivocation. No, maybe I should take a day off here because this stuff is really, No. He's in complete control wherever he goes. Complete control. And this is why when he returns and he calls us, that trumpet sound, and we rise to greet him in the air, in the clouds, just like when he went up. And we're changed. I was there for 3 seconds, like 15 years ago. Just 3 seconds. Second one, I'm in this great throng of people, millions of people, as far as you can see, just a sea of people. And no one, that's second one. Second two, no one is going, oh my gosh, what just happened? We all know exactly what's happened. And there's this holy reverential silence. No one is saying anything. We're just in awe of where we are and who we're in front of. Second three, I do this. My sin nature's gone. Sin nature's gone. I just go, and I look at my solar plexus, because that's where we reside. Just go, it's like complete astonishment. My sin nature's gone. And then I'm back. And I was there. When I say it's not a vision, I was there for 3 seconds. I was transported into the future. And I realized that's really woo-woo. Oh,
But it
baby.
is, well, we're talking about a holy fire cloth that, which could most likely is the most important artifact in human history.
I agree. In
Um,
human
and
history.
and we're talking about how this magically appeared, and then you're talking about this. I don't think it's woo woo. I've had my fair share of experiences as well, and I find it, fascinating, brilliant. and life changing as well. It's if you don't mind me asking, how did that happen? How did that 3 seconds occur?
It just I was minding my own business. I was getting ready to go in the shower. I wasn't fasting, wasn't praying, just dun 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 dun. It's the morning. I'm gonna go take a shower now, and all of a sudden, just like that, I'm there, just like that. Yeah, no
Beautiful. Yeah.
warning, no warning. LA, brace
Of
yourself. We're
course.
gonna go through time.
Please fasten your seatbelts. Remain. Put your seats
Exactly.
in upright
Upright
situation.
position.
Yeah, upright position. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. It just none of that. It was just instant. Wow. That is okay. So I just a couple more questions, and I'll let you go here, La.
Sure, sounds good.
Um, yeah. So we know, like I said, this is the most important artifact in human history. In my opinion, I'm sure you believe the same thing. So why is the media treating it, or like mainstream treating it like a curiosity or worse, like almost ignoring it entirely?
Well, again, we've sort of already covered that.
A
It
little bit,
points,
yeah.
yeah, it points to the veracity of the biblical narrative. It points to the veracity of the resurrection. It points to the veracity of a supernatural world. It points to the
Mhm.
veracity of a God, and the entire idea of a Messiah, of someone that comes and by his blood we're saved, we're healed. They don't want that. They don't want people to know about it. I mean, I could go down some rabbit trails here, but it's just like it's a concerted effort to keep people away from the truth. That's what it is. Concerted effort,
And okay, so now I've heard you say that the deterioration of the shroud is kind of happening now much faster.
much faster. Yeah.
Why is that? What has
Well,
happened?
the image is deteriorating, and isn't it just like God to hide something for 2,000 years, and then in 1898 we get this, and now the image is fading. The image is fading because he's
Do you
coming
feel
back.
that I was about to say, do you feel it's because he's coming back? Like
Yeah, I
it's
think it's
time.
I think it's very soon.
Mhm. And then one last thing was supposedly, like, the shroud was vacuumed. Why was that allowed, and what were the repercussions of that?
To destroy any forensic evidence that may linger on the shroud. It was deliberate, in my opinion. It didn't need to be done. It was an outrage that they did it, an absolute outrage that they would vacuum the shroud. Destroy what they did essentially was destroy any further scientific, you know,
Yeah,
testing.
they've removed, like we have all seen CSI TV shows or something like that. They've removed all the particles or anything, and now it's like, yep, you got nothing. You have like what just appears to be is, I don't want to say a dead cloth, but there's nothing left on it now. You just kind of
Nothing.
took it.
Yeah,
You've removed everything.
yeah, yeah. I mean, when it happened, we all just went, "Oh my gosh!" That's it is so deliberate. It is absolutely deliberate. Because they tried to. There was some nutcase was in there, just set a fire to the whole place, and a fireman rushed in and saved it. I mean, they want this thing, and why do they want it? Because this is, people are always going, well, if I had proof of the resurrection, I would believe. Well, here's your proof, and guess
Right
what?
there.
And
Yeah.
guess what? You still won't believe because that's the hardness of your heart. And folks, all you have to do to become saved, to become a Christian, you believe on him who was sent. That's Jesus. And you confess with your mouth that he is Lord. That's it. That he died for your sins. That's it. That's all you got to do. There's no, well, you got to take this 10-week course. You ask him in, and he'll come in. It happened to me 45 years ago. I've never been the same. And I never will be. Thank God.
LA, I think that's a perfect way to segue this out, like to end this conversation. I think that's just the perfect way. Before we go, I'm sure everybody knows where they can find you, but one last, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you?
LAMarzulli.com, LAMarzulli.com. You can stream the video for $5. What are you waiting for? That's streaming.lamarzulli.net, streaming.lamarzulli.net. If you want the DVD, you got to go to the site and order it, and we will ship it right out to you. LAMarzulli.com.
Awesome. LA, I want to say thank you so much for spending the time
Thank you, Rye.
and coming in, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, everyone. I want to thank LA. That was a fantastic interview. We had a short amount of time, a short window, but we made it work. And this linen, the shroud was scorched by the holy fire, or some skeptics believe it was just made by, a forgery, some lies. But this is something that I have read about when I was a little boy. We had a book about how the shroud was faked, forged by perhaps Da Vinci himself. This was something I actually never accepted as truth. I believed it was authentic. And like I said, I was maybe, 10 years old. I remember looking at this book and like, no, no, I don't want to believe this. I just felt that it was real. I knew it. I believe that this is a sacred relic of the true divine. But, of course, there are others who still hold on to the belief that this is a hoax. And unfortunately, there's a lot of misleading news sources, and there's also those who are withholding updated and crucial evidence, or not updating their evidence to reflect the debunking debunkers, because the debunking was debunked. So, of course, I understand why they need to plant seeds of doubt and lies and misdirection to undermine your faith and mine. But what they don't understand is that faith is the trust in something unseen. But here we have something we can see, which makes it even that much stronger. Now, the Shroud of Turin is a godly fingerprint left behind. It holds the truth, and it refuses to stay silent. And maybe that's the point. Again, a special thanks to L.A. Marzulli for guiding us through the folds of faith and fraud and the fantastic. And as always, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm here to light that lantern and let your curiosity wander. I'm Rye the Codega, signing off. And until next time, keep your curiosity wandering, the light lit, and always find your way home.
Beneath the stars where shadows grow, the Nephilim's echoes whisper low. Bigfoot roams through the forest deep, and Dogman prowls where the brave won't sleep. Across lost history we wonder why, seeking the truth that time tried to hide. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit, through the darkness don't ever quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. UFOs streak through the velvet skies, aliens watch with unblinking eyes. The paranormal hums where silence breaks, in the void of secrets a lantern wakes. Through hidden realms and stories untold, the Codex flame is the light to hold. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit, through the darkness don't ever quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. UFOs streak through the velvet skies, aliens watch with unblinking eyes. The paranormal hums where silence breaks, in the void of secrets a lantern wakes. Through hidden realms and stories untold, the Codex flame is a light to hold. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit, through the darkness don't ever quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. Legends rise from the earth's deep core, a lost legacy we can't ignore. With every step, the veil grows thin, revealing worlds where the strange begins. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit. Through the darkness, don't ever quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come and always find your way back.